Hey, it's Frankie here, and in this video I'm going to show you the 5-step process to manifest absolutely anything you want in this world. And we're going to put a special emphasis today on the two things that people most ask me about. Thing number one, how do I get some money in the bank, especially if your back's against the wall and you need it quickly or something's happened in your life. And the second is often romantic relationships. How do I bring that special somebody? And you'll be amazed to learn in the money thing, I've seen this personally actually generated $10,000 out of thin air. We'll talk a little more about that. Had clients who generated up to like $500,000 deals from nothing doing this, as well as the romantic relationships. Seen everything from this generate a casual partner to the person I really want to spend the rest of my life with that meets all of the entire checklist. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first and probably most important step is breaking the cycle. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're listening to this, maybe you want to generate more money in your life, or you have that person you have in mind and you want to generate that relationship, or it could be something else, a health goal, a spirituality, whatever that is for you. Almost always your starting place begins where? Well, if you're like most people, it begins in the exact opposite, right? Like it's often the lack of money that creates the desire to want to manifest it. It's that feeling of being alone that makes you want somebody in your life. And so what happens is most people don't realize is that you begin that journey with a whole lot of momentum, especially mentally, energetically, and sort of your thoughts and feelings are going completely the other direction. And so what you're attracting is the exact opposite. Now, it may sound really, really logical in real life to say, well, if I'm thinking all these thoughts about lack and lack is showing up in my life financially, then I should just start thinking about abundance. But often it's really too big of a jump to go from here to there because you have so much energy and so much focus and so much feeling and attachment to what's been going in that direction. So the first thing you have to do is just stop your mind from being crazy. Now, I've found only ever two things that really help that. One is meditation and really just calming your mind to a still state, focusing on the breath. And the second is looking at the big picture. The world is still turning, you know. When you think about this, we're a couple of monkeys who live on a rock floating in outer space, and at any given moment, an asteroid could smash into us and kill us all. That kind of makes that bill to pay or that lonely Friday night not such a big deal. And so you want to take this and look at the big picture until you can start to get out of that little focus of poor little me and my poor little problem. So when you finally completed that first step, we're on to step 2, where you can actually get into a state where you can receive. Now, normally when people are in most of their daily lives, their minds are going really crazy and active and thinking about all the tasks they got to do and the million things they have to do and the traffic. And when you get into actually manifesting states, it's really the opposite. Is you want to be a receiver of incoming sort of higher thoughts and higher energy and higher vibration. And so you'll know it because you'll start to receive thoughts that make a great deal of sense, and they seem to almost come from without you, and they flow a whole lot easier, and they just feel much more gentler and calm. So now we're on to the third step, and this is really, really important, and I see a lot of people get this wrong, is when you have an idea of what that thing is that you now want in your mind, and you start to develop that clear picture of what that money looks like for you, or what that relationship looks like and how you'd like to be, you have to really feel it here and now and allow the feeling to be enough for the moment to really console you and to comfort you. So it's allowing you to feel money that you haven't yet manifested physically, or to feel the loving relationship that you don't yet have yet, or to feel that health inside of you that may not actually be your present physical condition. And if you skip this feeling step, what ends up happening is you actually send more energy the other direction, increase the resistance, increase the doubt, increase the worry, and increase the ways in which it won't show up for you and prolong that journey. So it's really, really important to feel it now. And where I see a lot of people get it wrong is they're looking for it going, where's it coming? Where's it coming? Where's it coming? And the actual right attitude to manifest it is, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So Step number 4, and that is once you get into this feeling state, it's important to stay there as long as humanly possible. Ideally, you want to stay there until it shows up for you physically, but if you're human like the rest of us, that may not be possible, and you may have to go back to the beginning and repeat this journey. Now, this is really, really interesting. One of the things that I've done is, here's a quick story about how I manifested $10,000. Now, I was in a situation, I ended a 10-year relationship. My business was no longer fun in my life, so I decided to let that go. And I had met someone, and we decided to do a road trip across North America. So we drove 8,000 kilometers, 5,000 miles. So in this time, I had no money, no sources of money, no relationship, and I was even off the grid staying in some places. And I realized I was eventually going to run out of money and had no way for it to come in. And I remember I had heard a story about a friend who at a mastermind had met another billionaire, and this billionaire wrote down his goals 1,000 times a day to aid with his manifestation. And I thought that was a little extreme, but I'm like, hey, I really like the principle. And so when I got into this feeling state, I wrote down the goal, I will make $10,000 in 3 days. I will make $10,000 in 3 days. I will make $10,000 in 3 days. And it was really, really interesting because on day 2, we were in Los Angeles, California at this big celebrity party. And I ran into the billionaire. I had never met him before, but he just happened to be at this party. We got a chance to talk to him late at midnight after everybody else had gone home. And he said, the key is we used to throw events, and the people there, we would show them how to make $10,000 in 3 days, because if they did it before they left, they believed they could do the rest of the goal when they got home. And so he literally said the exact words I was writing down, is that you should make $10,000 in 3 days. Now, the story doesn't actually have a happy ending on the 3rd day, because nothing actually happened on the 3rd day. But on the 4th day, I got a call from an old client who said, I've been working on this big video project. I need somebody to direct it and crew and blah, blah, blah. And I'm happy to pay you $20,000 for this, but I can't pay it all at once. Would you take $10,000 today and $10,000 later? So it turned out to be even cooler. And these are the amazing things that can happen when you get into these great, long feeling states. Now, the important part of that story is, why was I writing down that goal religiously? Was really to stay and milk that energy. So whatever that is for you, it may be a walk in nature, it may be to sing a song, whatever it is, you want to milk the feeling of having it. So if you're started out feeling lonely at the beginning of your journey, you want to feel the feeling of that love and that warm hug, or whatever that finished state looks like for you. So, the magical final 5th step. And now this is really, really important, because I've gotten a chance to have conversations with several of the people who were in the movie The Secret. And what's really, really interesting is they didn't like how necessarily parts of the movie, this whole step was left out, because it made it not sell. And that is inspired action. Now, there's a lot of people who think that you can just manifest by just sitting under a tree thinking of driving a Ferrari and it'll magically pull up in front of you. And you don't have to walk to the dealership or anything like that. And then there's also another group of people who have the opposite problem. Their first instinct is to act, but without coming from that place of that whole feeling of where your goal is already accomplished, working from the goal rather than towards it, which is kind of doing it backwards. And so inspired action comes in the form of impulse, where you feel like you just really need to do something, and it's really fun, and it's almost like you're being guided by intuition. Sometimes it's taking a phone call, sometimes it's posting something. It's a little bit different every time, but it always comes from this spurred feeling inside of you, and you want to use those as your guide to manifest. So that's it. If you do this process start to finish, you'll find that you literally will manifest anything you want. And we've actually had clients who, one recently just pulled off a $500,000 deal, and 2 years ago he was working for somebody else, making $50,000 a year. Another one just signed a $100,000 recurring, no, 2 $100,000 recurring clients. And we've had people who had a 60-point checklist for who the love of their life was, and they met somebody who was all 60 of those things. So it's really amazing when you do this. You will find yourself standing in the middle of your manifestation. And one little thing that I would like to add, just for the sake of your benefit of really being able to pull this off and to really find yourself having what you really want, and that beauty and that just pure gratitude of those amazing manifestations, is if at some point you find yourself losing that feeling and falling off the wagon, simply just go back to the beginning of this process. So for some manifestations, especially ones that are in your mind perceived as bigger, you may have to do more than once. And for some that are really small, you may find it's almost effortless. They're both actually the same, but in your own experience, if there's more resistance around something that's perceived big, it just takes more effort than one that's perceived as small. But if you follow this process, Promise you, magical manifestation. So let me know in the comments what you've manifested and share your stories, because I think it really helps inspire other people to get what they want. So if you like this video and you also want to discover what is my life purpose, why am I really here, and then be able to actually get paid to do this for a living with people you love, traveling the world, being free, and then seeing how sacred plants can totally speed up that journey, there's a link for you below this video. Now I've pinned it in the first comment as well as in the video description, so it's both places. And when you click it, it will bring you to a page that simply asks for your name and email and that free training. It's 39 minutes long. It's amazing. People have told me it's changed their lives just from that. It gets started as soon as you register, and again, it's totally free. And of course, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and click the notifications. Never miss another video. So may the force be with you.